What's up, guys? Welcome back to my Carnage Marauder guide. It's part 4 of the series that's been running for quite a while now. And if you haven't checked out the other parts, I'll put a link in somewhere on the screen here so you can check them out. I've been thinking of how to approach this topic for quite a while. It's PvP in Star Wars. I mean, even though as simplistic as the rotations might sound, it's a little more complicated. I mean, what you need to realize is when you're trying to DPS someone down, that same person is trying to kill you as well. And the key to winning your battles is trying to do as much as damage as you can while preventing the other guy from doing any sort of damage to you. And this is where control comes in. I mean, you can use your roots and your mez and your choke in such a way that it interrupts the enemy rotations. But this requires a good deal of class knowledge, and you need to figure out what spec they're in, and if you know what spec, and you can figure out what their advantages are. Like, for example, let's take a Carnage Marauder for example. You know that most of their burst is going to come as soon as after they pop Gore or Precision Slash. So since it's your own class and it's your own spec, I'm pretty sure you know how you know how to counter it, popping up for during Ravage and etc, etc. But when it comes down to other classes, remember there are 8 classes and 3 specs for each class. So you need to figure out what skills to interrupt, and for a caster, that would completely shut them down. And at the same time, you also need to figure out the melee rotations, like the skill animations. Let's take the Shadow or the Assassin, Deception or Infiltration spec for example. I know that that spinning saber strike called World Take Slash or Clairvoyant Strike, if they use it twice, it buffs up their shock project damage to disgusting amounts, as well as they also have that Maul proc that increases the damage of their backstab by a fair bit. So I also have a Shadow alt, so I know what the icons look like. So this is what I look out for when I'm going up against a Shadow, to see if he has those 2 stacking buffs and if he has the Maul proc. As soon as I see the Maul proc come up, what I do is I root them and get behind them to deny them my back so that they can't get the damage off, and at the same time I'm still hitting them really hard. But as I said, you actually need knowledge of the class to figure out when that's coming, and I would highly recommend either looking up the class trees or the icons at least, so that you know what some stuff looks like and how you can avoid it. But to be honest though, that would seem like a lot of work to a casual PvPer. I completely understand as well. I mean, it took me around maybe a month or 2 to learn each class's skills and trees, and how best to go about countering them. Like in the previous video, if you've seen what I said about operatives, when they open on you, to immediately pop all or Intimidating Roar to mess them and prevent them from doing more damage. See, again, that's a control point. You're controlling his actions, you're denying him his the ability to follow up with a backstab and stun you and stunlock you to death. That's what I mean. That's how you go about messing with people in PvP. To be honest though, control doesn't only involve using your stuns and your mezzes, your roots as well. Carnage has lots of roots at their disposal, and it's really excellent at kiting melee classes. For example, when you see a Juggernaut or Sentinel or a Assassin or all those annoying melee classes pop that annoying defensive cooldown, the one that gives them 50% chance to block or deflect damage, what I do is I root them during this. I root them and run around a corner and wait it out, because I don't want to be hitting them and having half my attacks miss. I mean, that's just pointless. It's just a waste of time. It's giving them time to get good damage on me while I can't kill them. So why would I stand around and give them that opportunity? Instead, you use your crippling throw, root them, get behind a pillar, make them make them come to you, or use slows, or there are plenty of tools you have at your disposal to completely kite that duration out. And as soon as the cooldown ends, you can immediately get back onto them and finish them off. The other example I can give you is for example the Flare of the Month's smash specs. You know that their damage comes after a leap. So if you leap to someone, if you leap to one of those Flare of the Month people, and you know that they pop that Force Crush or Force Exhaustion on you and get the 4 stacks up, but that won't crit unless they leap to you, or if they use obliterate, but most people will generally want to leap to you because they'll have the Vindicator set to give them a 10% damage bonus. You can actually abuse this to your advantage. What I mean is, like, you can root them in place and deny them getting 10 meters away from you, so that you can maximize on your damage. And sometimes I've actually seen a couple of Juggernauts who refuse to attack me unless they get the Vindicator set bonus, which is quite funny because I can just root them with Master Strike and Crippling Throw and keep DPSing them. Well, that's just all they try to do is get away from me, which is quite hilarious and pretty bad on their part. I would actually sacrifice 10% damage to just, you know, actually hit the guy hitting on you, but whatever, people are bad. What can you do about it? I'm sorry. I kind of get a little cynical when it comes to things now. With the Smash spec, I really think it's a spec for retards, but that's my opinion. So, what I'm trying to say is, this technique that I use of controlling your opponent kind of comes with practice. You need to figure out when and how and what times are, you know, ideal for keeping them in place or messing with the rotations. I would actually be keen on doing a guide for that, but the problem is it would take me an enormous amount of time. As I mentioned, 8 classes, 3 specs each, and not to kind of brag, but I do know most of the class specs pretty well, so I am able to counter them pretty easily. So if you guys are keen, I mean, I can actually get to work on it, but I can't guarantee when it'll be out because I'll need to go sweet talk some people into respecking and dueling me multiple times or running into them in war zones. So I have no idea when I'll be able to get that out. But in the meantime, I can give you a few quick tips on how to deal with certain classes. I've also again got a request the other day about tank shadows. I don't see tank shadows as a threat, to be honest, because unlike the Smash spec, your most of your damage is weapon based, except for Force Scream, which is 1 cooldown. The problem with the shadows is, like, they can pop Resilience or Force Shroud when, if they're good, they can predict when your Smash is coming. I mean, anyone can predict when your Smash is coming if they just pay attention to the 4 stacks on your buff bar. But as I said, you know, some people might have problems with that, but to be honest, you just need to look out for that cooldown. It's called Resilience or Force Shroud, which is when they glow white, and when you see that pop up, obviously, always, you only use weapon-based damage. Also remember that this does not make them immune to your roots either, so you can still root them in place as well, because your roots count as ranged and not force attack. See, that's the one advantage that I feel the Carnage has over that spec, because if you run into a tank shadow in Hutball, they normally like to pop Resilience right before they try and score. But what you can do is you can leap to them and Crippling Throw them and keep them in place, and, you know, Master Strike them as well. So they've wasted that important cooldown on just trying to get a free score, and now they can't, and they're just stuck. Will quite make them pretty mad, which is pretty fun when you do it. The other thing about tank shadows that I feel is you need to know a couple of things about that spec. I personally haven't seen anyone who runs the full tank tree. I mean, like the full 31-point tree. It's usually varying hybrids of the middle tree and the left tree, or the middle tree and the right tree. But just to, you know, cover all bases, I'll cover the full tank tree. The full tank tree it revolves around the damage coming from Telekinetic Throw and Force Lightning. Their skills like Shock Project and Wither and Slow Time, they buff Force Lightning damage to 25% each stack, and it's stacked 3 times. So all you need to do when you come against that tank or shadow is Force Camouflage during Force Lightning or Telekinetic Throw. This will deny them self-healing and a good chunk of their damage as well. So if you can remember that, if you see them channeling Force Lightning, just Force Cam out of it. You cannot interrupt it because it gives them a buff to prevent all interrupts. And so, as unlikely as you will see a tank shadow in war zones, I'm just putting it out there just for your convenience. But let's get on to the hybrids, the people you'll actually see. There are 2 types of hybrids. One is the right tree and the tank tree hybrid, getting Force Imbalance, Death Field, and Force Pull in the tank tree. This one, the advantage you have is they don't have upfront burst damage, but they do have consistent good damage over time. I mean, they won't be able to burst you down like the middle tree, but they will be able to have tankiness, and they can whittle you down. The recommendations I have for this tree is, again, getting your Cloak of Pain or Rebuke out ASAP, because even though they don't have dots, they'll be on you consistently because they want to bring you down. So I'm pretty sure you'll be able to keep that out for this whole duration. And the other thing is using Obfuscate. Their only force attack will be Death Field and probably Shock as well. They won't be using Force Lightning as much, so Obfuscate will help you mitigate the damage from their Double Strike or Thrash, which probably have an increased crit surge damage from the right tree. So that's how you beat it. In you know, to break it down really quickly, pop Cloak of Pain, use Obfuscate, and burn them down. It'll take a while. Watch for cooldowns. Resilience, Force Rod, just watch for it. And when they pop Deflection, root them and kite the deflection down, because there's no point in you taking damage while you can't do anything to them. And now moving on to the other hybrid that I see a lot is the tank and infiltration or deception hybrid. This hybrid is actually very nice. I mean, it has lots of tools. They have lots of options at their disposal as well. Like, they do have some burst, because I'm pretty sure they would get the crit strike bonus on backstab, which can hit for a son of fucking a huge amounts. Like, I've had it hit for like over 5k on me with almost full war hero gear. So be wary of this spec. The key giveaways that this spec will have is, even though it's quite hard to look for, is the Dark Embrace buff and the Shadow's Respite buff. It's a buff that you need to train your eyes to see, and once you see it, I mean, you will know what if they're running that spec or not. Usually they will have the tanking stance and that buff up when they jump you. That's how you tell. So here, this spec, you need to pop Obfuscate ASAP, because their backstab will hurt like a son of a bitch, and they're tanky as well, which is a very terrible combo, because they can burst you if they want to, and they are actually quite tanky. So Obfuscate right off the bat. But what they'll be lacking is their force attacks won't hit for much, because they don't have that increased buff for shock or project damage. So, as I said, Obfuscate, or they will kill you. It's pretty hard to actually deal with them. The other thing is rooting them as well. Rooting them is important because, as I said, main damage is from backstab. So if you root them and get behind them and deny them that, you will be able to bring them down pretty easily. And what's the other thing that they had? Oh yeah, they do have like increased damage reduction from Dark Embrace. This combined with the tanking form leads to a very deadly combo. I mean, my force attacks hit for like, force frame hits for like 4 or maybe 3.5k if I'm lucky on them, and they have those buffs up, so it's quite a nightmare. So I can't emphasize enough about their tankiness, so you need to be very careful when you come against this. You use all as well, to if you're all, or intimidating road, if you're getting overwhelmed, to buy yourself some breathing room, or to kite out their defensive cooldowns. And that's about it, guys. I'm sorry that this guide hasn't been very visually stimulating, but as I said, I had no idea how to even think about getting the footage for this. But the next one, if you guys are keen, I might actually do a more detailed, in-depth guide into each class. But again, as I said, it will take me some time, so you gotta give me that. But thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys next time.